Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the Vicki Boutin design team, and today I'm very excited to show you an idea that is, I think, one of the most asked questions, and it is, how can I add mixed media to pattern paper? And honestly, mixed media, it is gonna warp your paper just because you're introducing a liquid onto a paper. So automatically, by adding liquid onto the paper, you're gonna move the fibers of the paper composition. So one of the ways that you can prevent the horrible warping that water can create on paper, if you don't like that look, because some people like it, it's just personal choice, is to protect your paper. And one of the best ways to protect your paper is with gesso. So I've gone into the collection and pulled out two papers that have Stardust, which is the one that has the blue paper with the stars and the background has like this little print, and the other one is Moonbeam and it has the white with the colorful stripes. I decided to use Stardust just because I like that teal look. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add gesso to it. And I'm using Vicki's gesso. I am using a brush. I'm using a thick brush. And you're going to see that I'm going to start painting the gesso onto my layout. You can use a brayer. You can use, I have a silicone brush there. Whichever way, you can use a palette knife. All you have to do is you have to make sure you protect your paper. I like using a brush when I'm creating this sort of layouts on pattern paper, just because the brush is going to create, it kind of feathers the gesso, so it creates more not a drastic difference between the gesso area and the non-gesso area. The bristles of the brush, by feathering the gesso, kind of create a ghosting effect, so it kind of fades softly into the background. And you're going to see that I'm going to apply extra gesso to the center of the application, because I know that's where most of the mixed media is gonna sit, and I'm gonna make sure that I protect the area. Now the key, as always, and I've always repeated to you, is you have to make sure your paper dries completely before you start on your next application. And I like to let my paper dry on its own. I don't like to hit it with a gun or with some heat. I set it aside. Sometimes what I do, and I know a lot of you guys do too, is I tack it onto my table with some washi tape just to make sure that it doesn't curl. But I know when I add gesso, because I feather the paint, you're gonna see right now it's pretty much straight, my paper. So my paper is ready to go. Now the second question that I get asked quite a bit is how can I, or why do I love my dark side? And what I mean by that is I love black backgrounds. I love working with black paint. I love working with a dark background, and it's because anything that you put on top of a black background, it stands out. It's like the black sucks every distortion around it, and it just makes everything that's on top of it stand out. So I've chosen to scribble a little bit of the black art crayon on a piece of acrylic. I dilute it with some water, and then I'm just gonna bring the diluted pigment onto my page. And what the gesso is gonna do here is three things. One is protecting the paper. Second one is creating a blank canvas, but it's creating an area where the media is gonna stay wet, or it's gonna stay liquid longer than just regular paper. So what the gesso, when it's protecting the paper, is also giving you a blank canvas where you can move the media around. So you're gonna see I'm just doing this in real time just to show you. I add my paint, it's staying afloat, so I'm able to put the plastic on top of it and move it around, or I'm able to add more and just keep adding onto it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start speeding it up, and you're gonna see how fast this works, and how, because I already have that coating of gesso, the black that I'm putting on top of it shows little hints of gray, and it's because I have already that white space underneath. Love working with a black art crayon. I love I love working with black paint. I don't know, there's something about it, and you're gonna see it here how everything I'm gonna put on top of it is gonna stand out. Now the key to a black background is a little bit goes a long way. Do not go ahead and cover the entire page unless you like it, which I do. I would have done that, but I just want to show you that a little bit is gonna go a long way, especially because I have all the pattern paper. I already have, if you see my paper, it has pattern, then it has a white area, and then it's gonna have a black area. So think of it as as a solar system. You know, you have all the space around it, then you have the first orbit of like the earth, and then you have the center, which is the black, and the sun. So you have the little kind of orbits. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to create a huge black orbit and stuff like that. Another thing that you're gonna see that I'm being very careful is that I'm putting my hand when I'm applying my splatters, and that's just gonna prevent from all the splatters to fly all over the paper. If I put my paper inside a splat box, I'm still gonna get the splatters all over the paper, but by putting my hand in front of the brush, the splatters are gonna hit my hand and they're not gonna hit the paper. So my hands are gonna be inky, and I don't mind it, but it's gonna prevent the rest of the paper from getting all those black dots. Again, key here, set it aside to dry completely. Do not, like, you know, poke at it, or if you want to heat it, be careful when you use a heat gun, because sometimes, like Vicki says, you can bake the paper, and what she means by that is just heat it up so hard that some areas kind of bubble up, the fibers bubble up and create those valleys and the dips in the paper. So my advice is set it aside to dry on its own. It's gonna take a little bit longer. Patience is the key. Now that my background has dried, I'm gonna add a little bit more mixed media. So I am bringing my Prism glaze, I'm bringing the circle stencil from the Storyteller collection, and I am bringing one of the stencil brushes. So all I'm gonna do, you're gonna see, is that I'm picking up a little bit of the Prism glaze. I'm going on a circular motion just on that little candy cane, candy striped circle. I'm gonna go on a circular motion on top of just that one, and then I'm gonna go on top of it and kind of stipple some of the paste, and that's going to create a little bit of a texture. Think of it as like the popcorn ceilings in the old houses. I just like the kind of the flocking effect on the little circles, and and that's about it. And it's gonna be such a thin application that it's gonna dry pretty quickly. Another thing is, a little goes a long way. You don't need to cover the entire area, just a little bit is all you're gonna need. And then just to finish my layout, I'm just gonna my background, sorry. I'm just gonna go ahead and dilute the little bit of Prism glaze that I have left with some water, and I'm gonna add splatters onto my page. Now here you're gonna see how a black background makes everything nicer. Wherever the Prism glaze sits on top of the black area, it brings out that goldish tones in the glaze. But whenever it sits on the white area, you're gonna see kind of that teal opalish quality of the glaze. Love the combination. So I'm gonna set this aside to dry completely, and I'm gonna work on the pictures until I get that ready. So I brought these two pictures of my baby because, if you guys know, I love my babies, and I love my little one most of all, just because he can't talk back to me. My teens talk back to me all the time, so I love the dog. So what I did is, I'm gonna use the Bohemian paper. The B-side has that tealish quality that also the Prism glaze has, so I'm gonna use that as kind of the frames for the pictures. And then I'm gonna bring the 6x8 paper, and that's the one with the daisies and that yellow, just because it creates a nice contrast with the teal. So I'm just gonna literally just create simple frames behind my pictures, and then I'm gonna glue them together kind of an offset, and I'm gonna make sure that they sit right on the center of the mixed media. So a lot of my layout is gonna be sitting on the right hand side of my layout. So you're gonna see that once I put my pictures on place, I'm gonna cover quite a bit of the black space. So like I said, it's just everything that I'm gonna put on top of that black area is gonna stand out. You're gonna see I'm not gonna glue anything on camera. I'm gonna set everything in place, and then I'm gonna take it off camera and glue it, and you're gonna see it at the end what it looks like. So all I'm doing right now, I'm just gonna start bringing accents of yellow, teal, and craft, just because those are the colors that I want to accent. So I'm bringing some of the ephemera pieces. I love those frames. The yellow big ticket comes from the tag book, the same with the story script word. I am not one to do mini books. I'm not a fan of them. If I make them, it has to be encased in a nice area. I don't like tag mini books. As a personal choice, so instead I use the tags in my layouts or in my traveler's notebook, and in this case I'm going to use one as part of the decoration and second one to build my title. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start I bring pretty much a little bit of everything: chipboard, stickers, puffy stickers. There's a little bit of everything, and I'm just going to accent those big clusters that I'm creating at the top right corner of the pictures, and also on the bottom left corner of the second picture. Once I have that, to build my title, it's gonna read Dream Story. So you're gonna see that I'm gonna bring a piece of leftover, the backing of the foam adhesive. I just pulled out a piece, and I'm gonna bring the alphas from the Storyteller collection, and I'm gonna spell the word dream. I'm gonna kind of stack the letters so I have that dimension in the background. And after that, I'm gonna bring a few more stickers. I'm gonna bring a few of the chipboard, those little circles that have the gold stars in the middle from the chipboard stickers, just because it has the yellow, the blue, and that teal, and that's just gonna give the eye to the three spots that I'm using on the layout as reference, kind of a visual triangle. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my lines of journal right underneath the bottom picture, and that is it. This layout took around an hour and 15 to get together, and it's just because I let the paint dry carefully in between before I continue on. So patience was key, but I love how this turned out. You're gonna see that my paper barely warped. There's not that much that, there's not those big dips and valleys. I do have some warping. You're gonna see right now there's a little little bent on the paper, but it's not drastic, and I love what this looks like, especially because it's gonna go on my page protector, and it's gonna get flat anyways. And I hope you try it. As always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Remember what I said, a little bit goes a long way, and try to add your mixed media on top of the gesso area. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you soon. Take care, guys.